It is time.
All right, we are back with Galaxy Jams Reacts with our special guest, Gabriel Marin from Consider the Source. And Gabriel, we're going to go ahead and finish off the show with the Mahavishnu Orchestra that you brought us in. You want to talk to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, this is my favorite album ever. This is the first song on my favorite album ever, and this band was the band responsible for life-changing stuff for me. Like, this is just the I can't express how much my life changed for the first minute of this song. It has the most, because like when I grew up playing like a lot of, it wasn't, guitar playing was for the song stuff, and then it was like 80s shredders guys, and it was very looked down upon, and I wanted to be able to play well. And like, so I learned to play like Yngwie, and I learned like a lot of like Steve Vai and like Zakk Wylde and all the metal stuff. And I was, in my late teens, and I was having a hard time. Like, I really liked playing music that was crazy, but I hated everything that went with it. I didn't like playing fast for like ego stuff, or like the rock guy playing fast solos and then like shirtless and shit. That's just not me. And then I heard this, and it was like the most intense guitar playing I'd ever heard. And it was no bullshit. There was no songs about getting laid. There was nothing about anything other than just like, this is the intensity of this music and stuff. And that's, that's what I'm about. I don't have a hard time with music that's about normal life and stuff. Music is such a high art to me, and that's why I like instrumental music so much. And just hearing this was like, it just totally, and this whole album, but it just totally like, and so John McLaughlin is my favorite guitar player ever, and this is just the greatest. It's dirty and it's nasty, and it's it's not it's not determined with being clean. It's just like, it's energy and just crazy shit. And so this is the best.
I've never listened to this. Can't wait. Oh shit.
Like, these chords are so crazy. And he's my favorite drummer ever. Billy Collins is like a great drummer.
My brother used to listen to this when I was little. He has his master's in music and was all into jazz, and he loved these guys.
It's just so cool sounding, like this intro here. Like,
yeah, it's so nice. I haven't heard this in years.
I mean, this was like 69. Like, nothing else still sounds like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was sick.
So nasty.
Damn.
The for hands are so dirty. It's like so energetic. feel like I just talk over the guitar solo. Like now that it's done, I can talk. And the drum is
Absolutely nuts.
just moves it forward so much. I like the way they're all together.
Oh yeah,
And
sweet. Wow,
Holy shit.
that
Yeah,
was crazy, and just all the different parts going on and how they were like interacting with each other. It was in a good way overwhelming.
yeah, I mean, it it is. My dad went and saw them in Central Park way back in the day. And I believe is where they recorded the Between Nothingness and Eternity, which was the live album. My pops was at that show, and he said how it was just so intense, so like it was, he would always say scrambly sounding. It was just so, but my dad's a huge Deadhead, and this wasn't his favorite band. This is my favorite band.
Right.
And I could see, like if you like, what the Dead was doing, and this is a different. It's to me this is like it's just a whole different level of stuff. Like this is electric music that transcends the electric stuff, and it's like Coltrane, this Shostakovich, like the highest echelon of music stuff. This does it for me.
I feel like what I'm hearing is like the sonic version of like a nuclear fission, nuclear reactor going off, and all the different atoms spinning around, but then interacting with each other in like complex but logical ways.
Yeah.
And I know it's getting ready to go to a different part here, and I kind of heard a little bit of that before I stopped it, and I'm very, very interested in hearing where this goes.
A little chill section before the insanity again.
Yeah. The breath. Take a breather.
But I love how they all play a note and improvise around the melody together.
Right.
The violin and guitar are so like. And it's Jan Hammer on keyboards, who went on to write like the Miami Vice and a lot of stuff. But this and his playing on the next Mahavishnu album is my favorite shit he ever did. Speaking of Fender Rhodes, we did before. This is like Fender Rhodes, but with like a ring on. No, it's.
I didn't know Jan Hammer was.
This is where he got his thing. Yeah, this is how he got the first line of Mahavishnu was him. It's my favorite playing of it. I like his playing on the Billy Cobham album a lot.
How many people are in this band?
So it's violin, keyboards, guitar, bass, drums. So
Five, yeah.
this unison line solo is so cool. Guitar, violin,
Wow.
Sounds like Ozric Tentacles. But I
mean,
feel like a lot of Middle Eastern prog does.
Well, McLaughlin was the first guy to really because like George Harrison from the Beatles studied Indian music and was good at it. But McLaughlin was the first guy to really study the music and do something. Because this doesn't sound, he did more stuff later. But he was utilizing that knowledge of the time. And like they were one of the first bands to do stuff. And like, this song isn't 6, so it's not an odd time. But they had a lot of stuff on the album.
Right. Oh yeah,
bass line.
dude, they're getting fucking furious.
Yeah. It's so much. You could tell they're all like in their pants while they're playing. And I like music that's like I want to hear the guys just like barely contain.
Right.
Yeah, I like music that has that element of it. It's just barely, which is why, you know, I don't listen to like the modern, very clean stuff. It doesn't do it for me because everything's so cool and controlled. I like shit that's free, sometimes goes past the point of composure.
Right.
That's why Atlanta is so nice.
Damn.
Wow, yeah.
It reminded. Go on.
Until this, I didn't really appreciate drumming that much, you know, as like if for rock music, I like the drums to be very slow and like dinosaur-y and like simple. And, you know, and then once I heard that this drumming, it was just, it's so interactive with like, with the whoever soloing or the band. It's like so propulsive. Like Billy Cobham is the reason that I, you know, really appreciate drumming and stuff like that is from the drumming on this album and stuff. So.
Yeah, it reminded me of Frank Zappa's music because I feel like the only way that Frank Zappa's band could have made the music that they did, especially live, was they had to literally dedicate everything to it, their whole lives for years. And I feel like this music, this album, the only way that we could hear what we just heard is if every person involved, literally like monks, dedicated so much of their time, energy, money, passion, you know, towards doing this project.
Yeah, and the album after it, Birds of Fire, is just, you know, just as good, and it even, you know, it has even some unbelievable stuff on it, and like, you know, there's something about, you know, this time period where most of the guys, well, not most of the guys on this album, but McLaughlin and Billy Cobham they played with Miles. Billy Cobham drums on the Miles Davis album, A Tribute to Jack Johnson, which is a great album. And McLaughlin was on Bitches Brew and In a Silent Way and Live Evil and all this other stuff. So they, you know, like all the early fusion bands started off with Miles stuff, like Return to Forever, Chick Corea, and Wayne Shorter were both in Miles's group. And then Weather Report.
Weather Report. Oh, yeah.
Wayne Shorter was in Weather Report. Chick Corea was in Return to Forever. And Joe Zawinul was in Weather Report as well. And so all like the early fusion groups started off playing with like, you know, jazz guys that got into the electricity of rock music. And so there's like it's a very special early 70s fusion. Is a really like Soft Machine, Mahavishnu, like there's just something so like, and it had, the public was listening to it. Like Mahavishnu opened for like Aerosmith and like Return to Forever. Like, so it must have been crazy to have a time when you were playing like, cause you know, this is like, I think like that started the chain that I would put my band hopefully in a link of the chain of this doing crazy high energy Eastern inspired but still Western instrumental music and stuff with like, you know, really ripping improvisation and stuff. And but it's hard to imagine like a time when, you know, a band like us would have gone gold or something. But Mahavishnu did go gold and shit. You know, so that's a different must have been just a different feel.
I think it's so fascinating because all of our guests that come on the show bring music that they listen to. And you're the first guest that we've had that the music that you brought directly sounds like what you're playing right now. Every other person that has come, the music does not sound at all what they're putting out. And it's so interesting, such a direct connection of your influences of what you're putting out there, you know, and I love it. You're totally right. What I just heard, the three things that you just brought, I'm seeing crystal clear the music that you're playing now, how you're getting from point A to point B. And it's unbelievable.
A lot of stuff. And over the years of my life, I've studied and you know, Persian music and Turkish music and Azerbaijani music and Uzbek music, and grew up playing came up since my teenager playing Eastern European stuff and heavy metal. I went to college for classical music and I played free jazz and all that shit. You know, it's just, so all of that, you know, I'm lucky enough to be in a band that can do any of that stuff. You know, and that's the nice thing about the show too, is you can kind of just be like, all right, this is what the three of us like doing, and so we're all get to put our elements in.
One quick note, talking about how back in the day, like the Mahavishnu Orchestra could go gold, and a lot of that had to do with how radio was back then. Because back then, I used to be in radio, and so I had to learn all the history of radio and everything. So back then, it was more like an AOR format, which is an album-oriented rock format, and every DJ played what they wanted to play. So if you got a big DJ in Detroit or Chicago or somewhere like that, they could spark off something like this because they played it to on their normal rotation. So nowadays, everything there's like most of the stations are pre-programmed from like one. You
all
could
of
have
them are.
And it's just the same thing. They play the same stuff. Nobody has their own spin as being a DJ on there, and it really had a lot. That's why so many different types of music back in the day, like especially prog rock and stuff like that, got to be heard by the masses of people and got to be normalized by those DJs as this is hit music, people. This is what you should be listening to, not, here's the next Justin Bieber song.
And not just that, but two things that my pops would say back in the day. They would play a whole side of an album. They would play a Love Supreme, or they put a Dead album on, and they put a Doors album, or whatever, and they would just play a whole, it's 15-minute. And it was also the musical education and people's attention span was a little bit more that it wasn't, you didn't want something that you could just take a selfie to or do something. You could give into something and like put your brain into something other than yourself or something. It's pretty great.
Even went back to, back then the forms of entertainment was to go see live music, listen to records with your friends, maybe watch the 3 channels of television if there was anything on, which shut off at midnight. And, or just there's a lot of music listening. I just remember growing up, and my brother was 14 years older than I was, and that's why he like had albums like this, and he was all into jazz and listened. Went to music for get his master's in college, and so I got to hear a lot of great music like that when I was a kid too. But a lot of us, we would just have record listening parties where that's what we would do: sit around, listen to records, and hey, I got this new one, let's check it out. And we listened to the whole entire record, all sitting on the floor with headphones, and that was just what we did. So
that's cool, man. I hope there's it's never going to be the same thing mainstream wise, but it could be. I think what it is that like jazz and classical and like instrumental music counts for like 1.5% of record sales, which already is like nothing. So it's like if it was like 7 or 8%, I'd be pretty happy with that. I feel like at most it could be 10%. Maybe in the early 70s it was 10%. Right. If it got to like 7 or 8% was crazy music, I would be pretty happy with that. It's just not 1.5 for every genre of non-mainstream thing.
I think I'd be happy with that too.